So you might object here that when I run this, well, we're not actually adding 8 and 16 to get 3. We're adding fractions. But think about it. The numerator in a fraction indicates the number. The denominator of the fraction indicates the denomination, or the unit. Right. What this is let's take a reasonably small one. Yeah, whatever, fuck it. We have 7 of 1444. We have 5 of 3610. The fact that there's 3610 in this unit indicates what the unit is that we're working with. It's 1/3610th of the other unit that somebody else is working with. And this is 18 of 2888. It's like this is your unit. Per 2888 is your unit. So what we're doing is we're adding vectors here. I'm adding 7 and 5 and 18 in every case. That's what's happening in all of these. Up here we're adding 8 and 16 to get 3. That's what we're doing in all of them. Now you might object again that there's math occurring here, there's division occurring here. How is this an addition problem? What this math is doing, what this division is doing, is it is there so that we get units that are reconcilable, that are commensurable with each other. Because if your unit is 1, right, so 7, you can think of it as 7 divided by 1, so it's still a fraction if you want to think of it that way. When we do it that way, this doesn't make sense, right? 7 of 1 plus 5 of 1 doesn't give you 18 of 1. It doesn't work. But there's nothing saying we're not free to choose what our unit is. And in fact, we absolutely are. So to have all of mathematics based around the assumption that numbers are ordinal simply because we want to dismiss the fact that you should be free to choose your units per term, that's fucking bullshit. That's something that a stupid child would come up with. How is this the basis of mathematics? This is the correct way to do addition. There is not enough information here in just the numbers. Because when you are adding things, what you're doing is you're walking through a list-like data structure, and the outcome is going to have a unit on it, and all of the elements in your list-like data structure have to have commensurable units. And when you actually do the work to resolve, to commensurate the units, that is going to yield the unit of your solution. So you might notice here, this is simply half of this. These two play together really nicely. 1444 and 2888. 3610, something tells me that plays along really nicely with 2888 as well. The fact that it's there tells me that, right? So here, 15570 is simply 10 times 1557. These two play together really nicely. And somehow, really interestingly, we get just 450 on this one. Right. So the relative scaling of these isn't so systematic that you can just look at it and predict like how it's going to be, or what the relationship between any of the two is going to be. Other than the way that this algorithm works, this numerator will be a factor in this denominator. That is true. That much is true. And then the two other factors that, well, yeah, the two other, not necessarily determinable what the two other factors are just from looking at this, because they're not necessarily prime, but they are randomly decided by the program. Yeah, no, I thought there was some points in there worth making. This is just as much an addition as 1 plus 1 equals 2, but it is actually more generalized. It is still a special case because it doesn't handle all possible ways of doing this, but I feel like it is generalized enough beyond 1 plus 1 equals 2 to show what's actually happening here, what's going on here. That you can't say that 1 plus 1 is 2. You can't even attempt to prove that 1 plus 1 is 2 because you have to talk about the units. The numbers are insufficient. It's just it's not the right kind of information. You can't say that 1 plus 1 is 2 always because it's just fucking not. You can manipulate the units. Here, let's do it. Let's do 1 plus 1. 1 plus 1. Let's make it 18. There you go. There's 20 different ways to get 1 plus 1 to be 18. Let's do 1 plus 1 being 2. And none of them are going to be what you're familiar with. Not a single one of them. All of these are ways of getting 1 plus 1 to be 2. And none of them have I ever seen before, or you have ever seen before, most likely. And it's not what you would anticipate. But it is just as viable as any other demonstration that 1 plus 1 is 2. This one is nice. This one you sort of have seen before, because since they all have the same unit on the bottom, you can just ignore that that's there. So this did actually nicely give us pretty much the familiar 1 plus 1 is 2. I did not expect that at all. Just randomly. So, yeah, you can figure out what might have been going on there. Interesting. Anyway, have fun with that.